So my last video I cut off in regards to which way I want to go. I can go this way. I was speaking about soulmates. Some people, people use the term twin flames and all the karmics, all this other stuff. I was diving deeper into the revelations that I've been getting because we in what is this, Pluto retrograde? And for me, it's really highlighting, like, when you don't really do the inner work, then people become more karmic at nature, meaning like this isn't bad or good thing. It's more so like they become more accustomed to being karmic and not really doing the inner work, to where if you try to stay in something with them, they become not only more of a hindrance, but if you're not willing to see the lesson and see the growth and do the inner work, you will loop through the shit again with them. And that's a telltale sign where if things become chaotic, if things become like wild and stuff, to where you've seen this pattern before that you didn't see before, that's a telltale sign. That's clarity. That's actually the divine giving you insight of the loop itself. Most people ignore the loop. Most people, and this is why some of you can get dreams and visions or interpretation, or dream interpretation, but you can get like just something that is basically trying to usher you into a whole new cycle, a whole new venture, a whole new journey and experience. And it's simply embracing the unknown, because doing what's familiar is what keeps a lot of people in stagnation, in their comfort zone, and again in the same loop and cycle. So what I was getting insight on is of a situation or individual, in the past, of like, I know that they didn't do necessarily the inner work. So it's not that you cannot grow together, experience bliss and harmony, prosperity with you, whether you're in a relationship with someone married or not, whether you have children or not. There still is a part of you that doesn't know that person. You still don't know that person. I mean, you don't really know yourself. So in your becoming, which is through evolution, is where this person, they're not necessarily going to stop your progression. Is when you recognize that no one can stop your progression. And that's where consistency, this is where authenticity, this is where integrity begins to get louder and louder, where you have to sit down and have the uncomfortable conversations, or you get to a place where you've had enough. Giving up and having enough on something, or saying enough is enough, is basically saying to yourself that you've experienced enough patterns and loops to where, okay, my worth has changed, my value has changed. One moment, I forgot to put this LC back on. My worth and my value has changed, and I'm aware that this person doesn't see it. I'm aware that also that they don't care, and most of the time it's that it's not so much in there not caring about trying to get to a little short stop, in there not caring about themselves, which again is going to be a telltale sign of how they show up for themselves and their inner child. It's going to naturally be mirrored back. So basically, this is just a sign of them choosing to loop through the same karmic cycles of them overextending, and then blaming it on you, or not taking accountability and being aware that it's most of the time has nothing to do with you, but their internal world, of what they become accustomed to, what they built their childhood belief systems into adulthood belief systems on. You see where I'm getting at? So this is where I've heard people talk about higher level soulmates, or people who are on a higher level. It is levels in a way to where it's just someone has met themselves deeper. That's all it is. They met themselves deeper to where they have a just deeper understanding and overstanding. And so now they can be able to meet you But that doesn't still mean that that person and this individual doesn't come with shadows and lessons and so forth. In a way, it can still be an experience, but it won't be like the one previous before. It can be more harmonious. It can be more structured and balanced. There's still going to be more asked of you. There's still going to be versions of you that you're going to bring into said situation or circumstances, but it won't be like karmic or as, you know, of a how could I say, like this experience that people are hoping you have, but in reality that really just reflects you ever try to get out of something, because I've had this happen to me with someone, and the first thing they want to say is like, you ain't changed, or this and this, and they'll say all these things, but in reality it's like they're basically trying to project their fear of abandonment, most likely, or a way of them trying to make you out to be like something that like basically trying to say like you haven't grown, or you think you're better than someone, those types of folks, especially when you know that you've outgrown a whole situation and so forth. So, I had to part somewhere where the sun was, because the sun is definitely illuminating some shit right now with a lot of people. Anywho, so what I want to elaborate more, because the first video I was painting, but I just knew it wasn't meant for me to do it there, like finish up. So going back to the fact of like, let's say on a deeper spiritual level, because some people are going to wonder like, well, this relationship, everybody, relationships is such a fucking thing. Everybody's talking about the same stuff, but not everyone really is on a deeper level when it comes to it. This is just beyond the psych. When you think about, when you're dealing with psychology and the psyche of things, you're dealing with the subconscious. You're dealing with the feminine archetype, if you ask me. You're dealing with the spiritual. You're dealing with the unseen. You're gonna be dealing with parts of people that you know nothing about. Their how they develop their childhood and so forth. You know nothing about. So how the fuck you think you really know somebody? You don't. And if you ask me, I don't think you fully get to know someone more than they know themselves, if they're willing to do it. That's just my perspective. I don't really feel like people really fully get to know someone. You just try to find a balance within yourself and learn to balance your life out with them. Because I don't even feel like no one person is exactly for someone. And that's why I was telling you about, I just finished a book about, conversations or experiences I've had with, if I would give it a title, lovers, soulmates, and twin flames. And I would say from my experience that whether it's real or not to someone else, the experience personally that I realized I had, and it's just something I was like, realized I was living in or a part of. And everyone's not a part of this. I just realized there's significant people who are a part of this because they're able to die. There's something on a more etheric or ethereal, is that the word, or spiritual, or just heightened level when it comes to these connections, to where you're being led in, and then you gotta find, you can be lured in. Like, think about a karmic situation. You can be lured in, but you gotta find your way out. That's not always the case. But then when you think about certain partnerships or relationships, it's that, how can I say this? It's like, if I could reference like people that I know that were karmic, it could be temporary. It can be something like a one night stand, or something where, if you want to use that, as an example, but it could be something that's, seasonal. You think you're supposed to be with this person? No. You're supposed to experience something. They teach you a lesson in love, whether you learn it and realize you love yourself more and so forth. And it's almost like you gradually go through life, and then you meet a soulmate. A soulmate, I feel like, can be anybody in a way to where they just teach you something more on a deeper level of your soul, like something to the depth that you can't even put into words and express to some people. Only you probably and that person will know the depths of that, to where you can say you're meant to be, they can feel like home, but they can have a different mission here. And that's another thing going into the twin souls, twin flames, where you start to realize all this shit is really you. All of these things is really a form of you to evolve, learn, experience, and so forth. So I would say more so like the twin soul is probably one of the most transformative lessons. And I don't even, honestly, from my experience, because some people have these experiences where I don't honestly feel like you're meant to be together here, like in this world, because you can. I just feel like, for me, from personal experience, I just know the intensity like around this shit with the person, which again, I bring it back to myself, where I realized like they were just a part of so much internal growth, to where you are so much alike energetically, to where you just see this person as almost an extension of who you are on a deeper soul level, if that makes sense, to where you don't really know what you're gonna get. Because for me, I feel like it was so much glamour or coming off a certain way, to where you couldn't say you really was ready for them lessons, because that shit did something to you that nobody. So even the level of, like, if you want to say the love or trust, or even to the depths, it cannot, like, consciously, for me, or the awareness around it's something that cannot be measured through time. So some connections cannot be measured through time. It's a timeless love. It's a timeless experience. You know what you've had. But then again, it's like some people come through those experiences and don't choose to evolve, so they become karmic. So think about that. Some twin flames, twin souls of people, those who know what I'm talking about, like, again, it's an aspect of you you're learning or experiencing, but some people choose not to evolve. So I was sitting here getting clarity of that. I was like, wow. And that's why I tell you, in their inability to evolve or choosing to heal, they have to stay back. And what I mean by stay back or be left behind, they'll just have to experience a different life, or they'll have a different experience with you, that which where you what did somebody told me years ago, like, you gotta learn to leave people at. They'll experience a timeline where they chose to stay at, but only get glimpses of where they could have been. So that could be their karma. See, the karma shows in a way of where they could have done something, and then the karma is to see you live it out, to where, you know, basically like see you live out that full expression of who you are. And that's the importance of why I tell people about the inner child. They see you live this expression out because you actually took the fucking time and effort to do the fucking inner child work, or to do the soul healing, integration, you know, those who know, you know, all types of shit. Basically, the work on yourself. You know, in the hood, text, almanac, not almanac, but language, get your shit together. And getting your shit together is not the same, to where sometimes people who are so karmic at nature or don't want to learn the lessons, they won't be able to recognize the season you're in, because they don't know how to hold space for themselves and you. And this is where they don't realize, like, they're fucking up the mission. They don't realize they fucked up the bigger picture, where on a deeper level, where I gotta express this to my people who are coming to more about seeing the corruption in the spiritual community, to where now you see more heightened awareness, because individually we're shifting, and then the conscious is shifting, like the collective. So some people don't realize, like, you will go through some real tough shit with some people, and that's great and all. But again, when you have a purpose, a mission, or a higher calling, they can fuck that up. People don't talk about that. That's just anybody. It's just like another term, you know, hood term. You fumbled. You fumbled. They fumbled. They fumbled you. And it just goes to the fact of, as much as they want to convince the world, which eventually you'll come to the realization, self-realization of doing the deep healing work, or, you know, generational curse breaker, cycle breaker, is that there's somewhere in there you have to fucking focus on yourself. If you don't, it's going to be revealed, whether to that person that, whether it be, because those who know what I'm talking about on the spiritual level, heightened spiritual level, whether you have kids by a person and so forth, in some way, shape, or form, is going to be revealed to them, whether in the spirit realm or through your actions. And that's simply because you got to know yourself deeper. They didn't. So this is where you got to learn to let people go, because they chose their timeline. They chose their karma. They chose to repeat the same thing, and that's why on one of my other videos I got to upload, I talked about today, I know myself to heal and been healing through an abandonment wound. I knew someone who didn't. Because as much as they want to tell me something, I'm like, you getting. A part of me creating my content for the bigger picture is a part of my mission. It's a part of my purpose. I could not ignore that shit. Now imagine somebody that was supposed to do it with you. That's a form of them protecting, whether you say the divine masculine or feminine. So when people don't choose to evolve, because everyone has this divine masculine and feminine within them, you also have held the distorted aspect of that. And that's through the inability of seeing what your mother and father energies need to heal. Think about that. So no matter if you're in a marriage, a relationship, and so forth, it's the same shit that people will come to know. It's the same shit. It's the same shit. Judge your mama. I had one of these every now and then. But it's the same thing. When I think about the fact of like how people walk away and move away, somebody, well, now it's a difference where, like I said, I caught on to patterns to where I was like wondering, like, why the fuck am I going through this with this person? It's so similar. But I know I'm not the same individual. They were. They didn't heal. They didn't heal through what at that moment in the stage of their life where they could have chose to heal more. It's not to say people don't heal or face the things. You had more opportunity to meet yourself deeper. That's why the shit don't work out. That's why shit don't go stand the test of time or for longevity. Because they stop somewhere along down in the experience. They give up. They let it go. They give up on the shit. And that's the thing about consistency. Like I said, it ain't about convincing no one about my path. But that's why I say eventually, whether they're karmic or not, there's something that's gonna be revealed to them too. The inside of you moving forward. I've had people come tell me some deep shit, like tell me some shit on some, they seen me and something, or something was like, it was like, you came and told me you met someone. And that's a whole nother thing, bro. People will get premonitions. They will get insight. Don't ever think for once that the divine will reveal the lifestyle that you're either going to live or walk into. And it's going to almost feel burdensome to them, because it's almost like, yeah, you missed the mark. You dropped the ball. You didn't do the inner work. Those who know the importance of this shit knows that's why you do the inner work and the shadow work and shit to face your fears, because you're not just overcoming something with just you. It's bigger than you. You're not bigger than the program. Some people actually thought they were bigger than the program. That's why the fuck they're going to get exactly what they want. And when they get what they want, you know why they're not going to be satisfied? Because when you don't do the inner work, you're going to get the same results. That's just like, you can go from one position with a 9 to 5, but don't prioritize your well-being. You can go right over here and make $10, $20 more. And just by you not prioritizing your well-being, you still took that same energy and mindset right into that another position. You didn't do the inner work. You didn't think that was important. And that's how you gotta look at connections and exchanges with people, business, and so forth. You didn't think that this was important when I presented to you the possibility of like, hey, this is why the possibility, this is why this is not gonna pan out and work. Because I'm presenting to you something where I've done the inner work, and personally, this is what I've dealt with, this is what I'm going through, and you're ignoring that. And it's like you told people, you know, think about that. You told people, you reminded them. And that's why some people, even if you don't have sex, even if you're not on that level, some people can represent soulmates or certain levels of things in different ways. Some people don't gotta be intimate in that way. And that's another thing with growing when it comes to, let's say if you have children by someone, or let's say you don't have children, but you're in an intimate setting, there's still a way of things spiritually, mentally, and karmically playing out to where they can evolve with you, where you start to see things different, where you could have met and it was just sex, but then you could choose to evolve and realize like, well, you know what? I think we need to build on something more deeper, so our relationship and or partnership, which is a part of business, can expand for the betterment of, you know, ourselves individually and together. So when people do get what they want because they didn't do the inner work, it's never going to be satisfying. Because a part of them going to realize like, well, this is why you can have people get all the money. This is why you can have people get certain things and still be spiritually, mentally, emotionally unavailable for themselves and their partner because they didn't do the inner work. Or just they still, through the fact of going through things, placing their happiness somewhere else because they refuse to just be to themselves and be alone for whatever duration to get to know themselves better. And I tell you, I speak from experience. I went abstinent 2 fucking years for a reason. I wanted better out of life. And I already knew, I kept getting clear insight of the fact that the more you keep planting seeds, you're going to reap the harvest. Who was song I was listening to earlier where it was like, oh, Nipsey Hussle said, I stack every chip on myself, now it's time to collect. Yes! Absolutely. I stack every chip on myself. If you know, you probably don't gamble, but it's just like a way of like the casino. You stack all your chips, you all in. Everybody don't know what it is to be like that. So when you're in a connection like that and something like that, and that person don't know what it is to be all in, they don't. I've had someone try to convince me that they're all in. Or you got some people who try to glamour, pretend as if they're all in on something. No, you're not. No, you're not. I tell myself, in order for you to learn to be all in on something, you got to take a season, you got to take a year, you got to take a moment to where it's all about you. Cause then, yeah, you ain't gonna say you can fuck up, but I know where I fucked up at, stepping into something again and having to go through. That was my last fucking lesson or warning. I know there's some people who can relate. You done did all this time to yourself, and then you step right into something, hoping or the potential of someone knowing that they change or will change. Man, what? Not ever again. Once you see how much work you've done on yourself, that shit will teach you so much about your fucking worth. It will make you look at people so disgusted, like the energy, because you start to recognize it's beyond the person. You start to recognize the energy is so unevolved, so what's the word I'm looking for? Unevolved on so many levels, like emotionally, mentally, so forth. They want somebody to coddle their ass. you know, in such an unhealthy way. They're undeveloped emotionally, so it's going to take a toll on you. It's going to affect you and those around you. It's no overlooking the shit. Like, the signs become clear and clear, then you be like, you know what? This is just affecting my mental, emotional, spiritual well-being. And I'm grateful enough to know, even through the fact that I had to go through this, because the only way out is through, is to realize, like, had I not before did the inner work, it's no telling what this shit would have been. Honestly, I tell myself, if I had to do the inner work and get to know myself, I honestly feel like that's where some people's journey ends up, like, to where they be in something so karmic to where they refuse to listen to their inner wish, refuse to listen to something, and potentially it comes to a dead end. And I mean in a more tragic way, like unaliving. Like, it's real. Like, people overlook, like, a part of life is fucking, like, death. It's life and death. And that's why I feel like certain decisions where, had I not did the inner work and look at certain things a different way, abso-fucking-lutely. You know, those who know, I remember I was in shit with somebody that I realized was so karmic to where it was almost like the energy planned out to where I lived something before. Like, not giving a fuck about messing with people. I was so karmic, meaning, like, I didn't care to learn my lessons, so I was carrying a lot of karmic debt, if that makes sense. To where I didn't care enough to not be in a three-way triangle and so forth. When I was warned, you know, by someone, and they were like, yeah, man, that shit dangerous, like, you know, da-da-da-da-da. And then I moved forward, I realized I didn't outrun the energy because I was still doing things. But then I had really got insight on the fact of, like, I almost had like I was with someone and they were going to, you know, at the time I was dating someone with a child. And at the time they had went back and told, like, they didn't tell me this. They didn't even tell me this. It was something in the motherfucking dream state. It's like they were going up, well, actually, they didn't tell me. It's how the energy or the universe will fucking expose shit, and whole time you thinking nothing's going on. And you don't never know how, you know, the lower level entities, the devil or any certain thing behind the scenes is operating. I'm gonna just use y'all terms and shit. Man, I mean, one day I had a fucking something to where it's just something that seemed right. I was sitting there. No, what was it? Yeah, I was in there with the girl, and she put, I think, the father of her child on the speakerphone, and I'm listening, and it's almost like she got caught up in a whole fucking lie of saying, he was like saying something like, yeah, you know, you over here trying to get your family back and telling me one thing, wanting to have sex and shit. And I didn't even say that. I'm like, what? So y'all got to realize the danger in also spiritually, like, entanglement. You mixing it's so much shit to where people energetically, like, a lot of shit could be going on to where not everyone that is on your path is there to support you in evolving. This is the danger. Like, that's why you hear the term, like, stay dangerous. Like, it's almost like this is where you in endangerment. Like, you over enemy territory right now, to where it's like you got to be really fucking careful, because whole time somebody be over here telling one thing and spreading something in this other person's ear, basically manipulative and saying one thing. So there was this, in the dream state, I was getting shit of this person. Like, it didn't become clear to me then, but it was being revealed to me. I heard a conversation of her where he was like, yeah, da 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 da, because something was like, I was like, yeah, just put it on speakerphone. And the whole time you in something enmeshed or like just crazy dysfunctional. And what ended up happening is, like, I'm listening, I'm like, what? So ever since then, thing was crash course. I mean, on another night, I had a vision of like something to where the guy planned on coming there and unaliving me, bro. And the whole time I'm like, what the fuck? So something within me was like, okay, I gotta stay away from her. I gotta do something, because something she running and telling this person this and telling this person that. And that's the danger in even not just the karmic aspect, but when people don't do the inner work, they can also bring self-harm to themselves. So when you think about the depths of like things that are not coming from an intentional place of something with integrity or authenticity and so forth, then what ends up happening is that, again, they place themselves in harm's way, and then whoever is in the way or a part of that is also in harm's way. So that's the thing about what the healing journey does. Is like, it brings out different parts of you where you realize whether you're healing through an abandonment wound, emotional abandonment wound, whatever it is, it's like a part of you is reclaiming this authority over your life from that connection, where this person is mirroring back a distorted mother and or father energy, whatever you're in. So it's however you want to look at it. But that was something that, I was at the time, one of my homegirls that I was talking to, basically she was just on my journey like almost like a guy as well. Like, she was telling me stuff like almost warning me about the person. I didn't want to accept it, because again, when you are intertwining spirits, or you so deep into something where you don't lost all sight of the fucking reality of like responsibility of your well-being, how you show up and so forth. Yeah, you could be so deep in, as some would say, like, whip, you know what I'm saying? Or you deep in that thing and don't even realize, like, you don't even know what you got yourself into. So that in itself became a dangerous game. And it was just so many signs like along my path that kept showing up, because I still was still living out a lot of karmic nature, like going from woman to woman, who I realize now were like wounded little girls, because I almost said like girls in a way of like at nature, like they were so unevolved, or basically like undeveloped emotionally, to where they too had father wounds, or they too were karmic. And again, a lot of that shit was basically like warning me the potential of what could happen. Like, I'm trying to tell you, bro, like this shit be wild. If I gotta write books about this shit, because a lot of stuff I realize I'm so grateful for. You don't realize like how much protection you really can have when you do have a higher calling, because even through that karmic shit, like I said, it was revealing a lot of people's insecurities and jealousy, because it's almost like they will see shit that I couldn't. So you gotta think about some karmics and some people, they actually are spiritually in tune. They have, gifts and shit. They just, sometimes you don't even realize, when you don't know how to be structured and balanced, because we all have a shadow self or dark part of ourselves, that you will actually use this shit to hinder yourself and place yourself in harm's way. So it's like inadvertently use your magic and your gifts to fucking like manipulate people and the masses. That's how I look at a lot of stuff when it comes to the music, when it comes to the powers that used to be, and a lot of corporations and shit. It's like when your wounds are preyed on young, you will attract people karmically at nature who also have experienced these very similar things. I remember that, to where like, that's why I realized I evolved past a lot of people, because I got so persistent and consistent on structure and balance in my life, to where there was no turning back. There was no going back to what was fucking familiar, because I realized like either there was something I was going to pick up on that they didn't heal from, or there was something I realized like reminded me like, of my worth, of my value, how structured I know I was becoming. Even if the fact of, even through some things karmically, they'll teach you, like they'll breadcrumb you, they'll get premonitions of you in the dream state and so forth. I had people reveal shit to me, bro, and I was like, what? It's just people, and this is how Some people call it like people who are just operating in the shadows and shit. They come in that way, disguised, and literally they do come with the intention on derailing you from your higher calling and purpose. And they always backfire, because when I start to see shit like certain things would be revealed to me, and then the divine revealed to me the karma that's gonna happen to the people. I was like, what the fuck is this? And some things didn't make sense to me. It didn't at all. I'm telling you, it didn't at all make sense to me. Like certain shit, I would put the pieces together. I'm like, why am I being revealed this? And the whole time it's just like, your way of doing the inner work, it's not so much you wish shit on people. It's more so in their inability to not do it, this is going to be the consequences. This is going to be the consequences of someone who trying to, in their karmic nature, like I had one girl try to put shit in my food to keep me attached to her. Now, I don't want to disclose it, but that's in my new book. But, you know, allegedly. But I had somebody literally try to do some shit like that. And it was almost just like a way, and this is for my spiritualists and people who in tune, who fucking know. That's karmic. That's in a way of like, some people operate out of a place of abandonment. Just don't want to bring structure into their life, so they feel like in their ability to not ever have this person, or feel like they won't experience this person ever again, whether it could be some who relate to this like past life connection and so forth. It's their opportunity this lifetime, or certain things when they meet you, when you encounter each other and you see this, you feel this familiarity or something. But that doesn't mean that there still aren't going to be lessons that come with that. When you have that eye contact, for a lot of you, when you know it's something more deeper. Okay, you don't know much about their life, past life, connections with people, their connections with people, presently, currently, and so forth, to where as you engage, even before sexual, you're still taking on this almost like spiritual contract and agreements. You're coming to agreements no matter who you are, in exchanges, in encounter, and so forth. That's why a lot of shit, even when it comes to the old world and so forth, it was karmic. It was fuel of karmic nature. When you think about preying on childhood wounds, preying on the inner child, and making sure people don't progress, looking at celebrities, all these distractions was a part of getting to know yourself deeper, so you can actually be in a higher level connection with someone, or a higher level soul contract for some who knows, or just a more balanced and structured relationship. A lot of that marriage shit, all that shit that binded people, karmic. A lot of this other shit, when it comes to people being a part of industries and music and all that shit, karmic. A lot of them are going to have to go through things, and they're going to have their awakening and insight and so forth. And then in that, they're going to get to this, what it really is to be a star, to be able to see it within themselves. Everyone has a star within them. And what I mean by that, I'm referencing the fact of like, you can be consumed by someone's darkness because you lost sight of your star. You lost sight of the light within you. You lost sight of the awareness of you realizing you just a part of this, before you think that someone else has just as much as authority or power that you do. It's all how you use that power. It's all how you harness that power. Do you do it for the betterment of all? So this retrograde and Pluto and Aquarius is revealing all of that shit. Because no matter how much people want to mask themselves and disguise this, it's really going to reveal that if they have abandonment wounds, the karmic cycles, the things that they can no longer heal, the revelations that when you get, they get too. When you get revelations, they get them too. People get them too. Because you see, that revelation of something you didn't see before gives you clarity to where that insight, like, oh shit. Whole time I thought Shawty was this. Whole time I thought homeboy was this. Whole time I thought my mama, my dad, or somebody was this. Whole time this motherfucker been in the shadows. This motherfucker karmic. This motherfucker this. You know, so many different things, to where what it is that you have, due to your consistency in doing inner work, you actually, that's the energy coming back around, and that clarity and insight is a part of the loop being broken, or you actually acknowledging that, oh shit, this is a completion. And it never stops, because you're gonna have to, through life, through your experience here on earth, whatever the fuck you want to call it, this journey, it's still something that could happen 10 years later. I be getting revelations and shit. I'm like, oh. Just like I tell y'all, I come here to talk about it because it's a part of my own internal evolution. To realize, like, oh, I didn't want to know about this person, but I needed to. The divine needed me to know this, because it's for my protection moving forward, to know how to interact if I ever choose to interact with them. That's why some of you can have children by someone, but when you do the inner work, you'll realize how much that they still choose to abandon the parts of them that you no longer, abandon. And then guess what? You don't have to feel guilty and shame to move on in life, because sometimes whether you could have split, whether it could have been this, whether it could have been that, a lot of things have to do with the fact that you did the inner work regardless. You don't have to prove to them. What it is, what eventually will happen is that their karmic nature, through the karmic lessons that they refuse to learn, they cannot, it's almost like you leveled up or you graduated in something, and they're still at this level of still trying to navigate certain things that you have. So realistically, you have or will be called to go to karma waters, as some would say, or move on. Karma waters is just like a way of, like, when you think about emotional impulsiveness or emotional instability and so forth, you would think of the waters being a representation of emotions. So choppy waters and shit that's, chaotic, that would be a representation of not being in karma waters. Now, karma waters for me is like a resort or somewhere where you can actually see the water is clear and like things become more clear. So when you think about the emotional state, we birth from water, the waters of mama, the divine feminine archetype, the energy. When I think about the fact of in healing the emotional body, things become more clearer subconsciously. Now, people who aren't able to do the inner work and so forth, they still got shit. They can't, man, I remember I had a fucking dream. It was wild as fuck, to where it was almost like this person was trying to pull me back into this murky ass water. What I realized and came to the realization what that was is that they were trying to pull me back into something that not only was familiar to them, but pull me back into an old pattern where I couldn't see, like, what the fuck they were doing. You know what I'm saying? It was almost like something attached to them wanted to pull me and lure me right back in. I'm like, oh fuck no, because in the vision I was like, I was pulling like away, like, and I had more strength because I realized, like, oh yeah, nah, I know exactly what this is. And that's when you think about someone who's undeveloped emotionally, who hasn't done the healing. You realize to pull you into an argument is basically pulling you down to their hell, or pulling you down to what's unresolved within them. Whew, I know somebody need to hear that shit. And then as you grow emotionally more mature and become more in tune, you realize their emotions has nothing to do with you. And then how you have, you leave them to that. You leave them where they're at. And that's why I realized, like, how after that, whether I was given insight or so forth, whether through thought, dreams, or whatever, it would show me like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna be a part of that karma cycle ever again. I don't want to, because I need to show up for myself. So again, everybody, whether they're in your life for whatever duration, it's still gonna teach you something. And for me, I realized the importance of the inner child. Again, when I know someone who dealt with abandonment issues, it's like they cling to you unhealthily to where they depend on you. There's a codependency there for you to provide certain things, whether they be basic needs or try to fill some type of void. And what this does is that it not only harms them because they don't live in their true authenticity, or, it also affects you because you have a bigger mission. You see the bigger picture. You can't force them or make them do it, the inner work and so forth. So you're naturally going to, if you become more aware and start to realize like, yeah, this isn't fun. Because the inner child wants to express itself, be authentic, feel safe, feel secure, hold, be able to balance that, have that reciprocity between, being responsible and then being childlike. You want to be able for your inner child to just flourish and be the most goofiest, most authentic, version around yourself. And it's not possible for people who haven't learned the lessons. It's not possible for them. I mean, it's not to say it's impossible, because we look at the word impossible, we say impossible. It's just, it's possible, but they haven't did the inner work to see past, what's familiar to them. And what's familiar is the same pattern that they refuse to get out of. So it's not your fault. They're going to naturally still see you through that lens. And this is why I learned through connections where, what the fuck? I'm out of here. Adios finitos. And then again, it also revealed like their controlling nature, because they want to control. Due to their inability to not knowing how to control their emotions, because they didn't learn how to balance them, is that they become control in nature. Like controlling. They become wanting to control the narrative. You see this happen with people who stress over money. They stress over living situations. They stress over a lot of things. I was there because I was trying to control the outcome instead of surrendering. So the more I start to surrender, I realized like I was surrendering to the fact of honoring the lessons that I refused to learn about myself, the fears. And it was so uncomfortable till I realized like, oh, hold on. I needed to go through this so I can be able to stabilize myself more, so I can actually receive and collect, like I said, betting on myself all in. Now I can collect the karmic rewards, or some people say the dharma, from doing the inner work, from facing my fears, from pouring into myself, being consistent for 10 years. Because I start to recognize a lot of these connections for me, like it's different for everybody, because people look at that natal chart and so forth. But I start to recognize like doing so much of the inner work, especially emotionally, like the Jupiter and Cancer transit, which is about to actually shift here soon, was revealing to me like how much expansion was coming, or is already here. Because these transits happen within us, so the expansion was happening within me. Like, it was really mirroring back to me. Also, like, my daughter having a Cancer moon, and so a lot of her emotions were intense, or a lot of her expression, it plays out differently for everyone. So for me, in that, it was mirroring back to me how I too can be that, emotionally, mentally, and so forth, in whatever anger and emotion that I needed to be, because this is a child. I was too that inner child. And where I'm getting at is the fact of like, even though she's a little girl, it was the feminine principle or archetype, I'm gonna say, that was mirroring back to me like the uncomfortability of like, you were not allowed to do this when you were young. So this is where I had to learn with her. And that's why even your kids can come in a karmic energy to teach you some of the greatest lessons. And that's what I realized. Like, I told her mom that I'm like, when you see how she was created, it's not a burden. It's not a bad thing. It's for me to realize a bigger picture and realize like, wow, she's here to be a part of something so much more greater for me to see. Now, through her mother lens, that's different, because, her experience with her mother. For me, it's expanding things completely different, where it highlights my mother wound that I didn't realize I had. So if I don't acknowledge it and face it, and this is the karmic thing, if I don't see the lessons, then I will repeat the similar patterns of being emotionally dismissive, unavailable, not just for myself, but for her, or being like, and then also it talks about expanding, and then see, Cancer rules the home, money, the moon, because it's connected to the moon, everything ancestral, like with the matriarchal energy. And so with that, it's like, I'm like, oh shit, a lot of this is directing me because of the mother wound. Is literally the lessons in that karmically is preparing me for that abundant, prosperous, more harmonious and more stable and structured aspect when it comes to that distorted mother, or that distorted aspect I learned through from the Cancer energy, like reflecting my mother, or the matriarchal, the women I like, just what I went through with women. So that's why I realized, even with her mother, like my own lessons with her, like, you know, my daughter, my kid's mother. It's like, again, how you meet someone and things playing out karmically. You have to be able, somebody has to be able within, you know, to see like, hold on, this ain't just, this something more deeper. Oh, and sometimes you meet people to realize they're a part of you learning those karmic lessons. Something you cannot run. You can't outrun. I don't feel any shame and guilt around, like, you know what? I'm so grateful. I'm so appreciative that, like, it is more than you just giving me these kids. It's like, they don't belong to me. It's like lessons, not in just spiritual, but human form. Like, I cannot run from. That's the beautiful and grand scheme of things, when I'm realizing, like, oh yeah. Now it's even more exciting. It's even more exciting than before, where I was in more of a karmic nature to where I refuse to see the lessons. But it's even more exciting now to look forward to the expansion on so many different levels. Because I see the seeds that I've been planting, whether it's with my artistry, with my YouTube, with everything else. And literally these lessons, when you're willing to learn them, you'll be able to get the revelations and the clarity, the insight, be able to see the beauty and the bliss outside of what you thought that you were just in. No, it was a grand scheme of things. It's about, most people don't have the courage to go through the shit. Now, when they don't have the courage to go through it, because the only way out, to go through it and get out of it, again, they'll keep looping. They'll keep convincing themselves until the lie. Like, I'm telling you, that's the thing about karmic nature. It's like the lies you tell yourself to actually, assume that you've gotten past this shit, or everything gonna be all right. You keep telling yourself, and in reality, no, it's something you're not seeing. And a lot of people don't get it. The only way for you to see that shit is for you to be in solitude, or for you to take moments to yourself. So when I look at the fact of even a deeper karmic lesson when it comes to the mother wound that was intergenerationally through me, just playing out through a little boy. It plays out differently through a little girl, but for me, I had to look at the fact of the karmic nature my mom was in when she met my dad, like the karma that followed me, that I played out. You know, you learn these patterns from people. You pick up on these things, and then you live it out, and then you start to catch on, like, damn, I see where this got you. You keep coming down this path, and it keep ending you right here, and then you like loop through it again. And so some people are literally the greatest lessons. They'll, like, you will look at them and be like, you know what, man, I'm so appreciative. I'm glad you showed me this shit. Like, whole time I'm sitting here like, nah, I'm grateful. Because had you not been in my life, I would have never seen and valued my worth as I do now. So that's why I realized, like, how we just look at relationships in itself being something intimate. No, your kids, everybody in life, something, whether it's preparing you for a more balanced and structured life in a Dharma way. You know, you can say karmic or whatever, but I know for me, I'm excited about the rewards, because when you I tell you, it's the debt you clear. Those of you know, when you clear financial debt, that shit prepares you to do what? Live a more financial abundant life. And some people know that even when you in entrepreneurship, even if you in certain shit, And I don't get into loans and stuff, but even when you get into loans, it's like they know that's an investment to where that loan is going to be paid off. So think about that. I've had to experience things similar to that, but it's more so like you find ways to where when you go through these cycles, you can come out to where now you're financially abundant, or now you emotionally more stable and secure to where now you can go handle this more in a more emotional, mature state. A more, and that's the beauty of emotional intelligence. It's like you realize that people's inability to heal, it just shows the irresponsibility that they either grew up in, were surrounded by in their environments, and they just continue to loop through that shit. That's all. And so even when you have children now, it's more of like you can't fix the baby mother, baby daddy, or the husband or a wife. You be that balance for those children. Because sometimes you got to realize you can't change or fix those people, whomever it is. You have to be the balance, because eventually that child or children will come to the self-realization through their lived experience and become more aware who was not being honest to themselves and them. And that's where you come in for a lot of shit. I've seen this play out so much. Where you don't get one side of the story, where you only get this side. Let me tell you, the fucking scales always balance, boo-boo. You got to know that the divine everything is orchestrated. Everything is working in your favor. Like I said, when you recognize that people's inability to heal, you will also recognize the karmic nature and behavior that they're in, even with a child, that they don't even see. Think about that. They'll think that, think about, mothers. I'm going to tell a lot of y'all, mothers and fathers, you look at it how you want to. You receive from I don't give a fuck who it is. They can think they getting over on you. I don't give a fuck if it's child support. I don't give a fuck what it is. I don't care if it's like the mother trying to manipulate the child. Don't ever think for once that the universe ain't got fucking receipts. You're the reminder of the receipt. That's why I be telling people it's so important for you to really get to know yourself and balance shit out, because in your trying to become like them, it ain't gonna make it better for you, or you only gonna bring yourself more self-harm, and it's gonna affect children involved. That's the thing I wish people would have seen back then. A lot of these elders. You think brushing shit up on the rug eventually ain't gonna catch up in the lineage and in the generation? It is. Somebody gonna be called to talk about that shit. Because when they start to create their own family, they gonna wanna have shit to do with y'all. So y'all gotta realize, you don't outrun karma. You can run into the next relationship with that man or woman and just assume oh, shit is better because just for that honeymoon stage, whatever you call it, or because the sex good, or just because they got all this money. Baby girl, if you ain't did no motherfucking inner work, baby boy, you ain't did no inner work. If you ain't really see what the fucking cycles that your lineage has been going through and patterns and so forth, you ain't doing shit any different that your mama and daddy did. Or somebody else. And if you ain't trying to do something completely different, baby, you karmic. You going through a karmic cycle. Because we all living it out completely different. The whole world gonna convince you to stay on a karmic timeline whole time. You don't even know what the fuck dharma is. You don't even know what it is to collect karmic rewards. You don't even know what it is. Y'all be so caught up in just finances. Man, collecting karmic rewards or dharma is the fact of you receiving fucking clarity, peace, harmony, structure, not just for you if you do have children, for your generations and for the generations to come. Because you still got to stay consistent and have a responsibility around your well-being, even when the other fuckers can't do it. That's the reward. You actually got to a place where you realize you reached a place of simplicity, peace. You see your grandma and mama struggle through shit where they never had no fucking peace. And you got it? And you got it with less than they had because they got caught up in material shit. Man, y'all don't hear me though. Some of y'all karmic reward, I tell y'all about this, is the fact of seeing people go through shit, abuse their power with whatever authority they have. A power could be, financial abuse and so forth. People coming into something, not giving you nothing, looking over you and so forth. And your whole time it's the divine try to build you something. Something that's not just, they'll be able to see your ass, but they won't be able to get in. They won't be able to have access to know for that, because that's the karma. They refuse to clear to see the bigger picture for everyone involved. They can be apart, but also apart from your ass. Y'all don't be seeing it. I be telling people also, you can live in the same apartment complex, but not even have access to that a person's home or where they live at. Apart. You can be a part of something, but you also can be apart. So you gotta realize, like, you've been set apart from people. That don't mean they still not a part of the lessons that you had to learn. You had to learn through them. I've seen karma is so many, bro. I've seen people, I recognize it now, to their karmic nature don't surprise me, where, like I said, I seen people come into shit, I see people do this, I see people do. Divine was like, why are you worried about that? I mean, I don't need you to worry. They may have this much, but do you really know what you're preparing? Do you really want to know that stone by stone, brick by brick? They're not even going to know. You may have to, you know how people say, some of y'all, you may have to hire someone. Or you may have to learn financial literacy on your own, so that you don't create some karmic shit with other financial advisors or people who are greedy or banking and shit. All of this shit is karmic. All of that shit reaches karmic completion. The banking systems, a lot of these systems, y'all don't realize, even when it comes to like streaming, YouTube, all this other shit, bro, when people try to throw shit on your page, this is for some of y'all, I'm channeling it. People who try to keep you delayed and keep you from being visible, baby girl, that ain't nothing but karma. They're collecting that the divine gonna give to them. Because as that shit build up, that energy build up, it's gonna be an overflow where your visibility gonna happen like this. To where that visibility gonna go away, because in a time where they could have had authority, they could have had some type of say-so. They could have been in a position to actually support, shout you out, do something. That goes for family too. They could have been in a position, knowing that you went through something, they watched you. The divine say, okay, that's fine. But didn't I tell you the only way out is through? So you had to be in this position to what? To get prepared for something that was only going to be visible for you and those who stay in alignment. Those who were in alignment. Those who chose to go through the karmic cycles with you to clear for the betterment of all. And as you move forward and progress in life, those people still got to go through the same shit. That's why I be wishing people well. I wish you well, because listen, I know what I got through. I don't have to lie to myself. I know what it is to not live in that shit, to not live actually in my purpose, and to actually have people who try to breadcrumb, who will try to, what it is I recognize in a lot of relationships in the karmic aspect is that they were secretly in competition, or they became so, they were so wounded or so blocked by whatever it is internally that they wanted that for me. And now when someone watches you, they see how persistent you have been. They actually becoming the shit that they said they were gonna do. Or you're actually becoming the very thing that they say that you wasn't going to accomplish. And the only thing they can do is watch from the bleachers. It just is what it is. So that's all. Peace.